maybe this isn't entirely a comedy show. It's partly a comedy show and then like a serious prose poetry show. And this is the 10th installment. So I'm real happy that you're all here, and I think there's enough that if my material's not too terrible, you'll probably enjoy it. I'm hoping anyway. I don't know. Are our beers all opened up there?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I'll
give it a thumbs up. Yes.
5 of them open.
Okay.
Well, tree.
Just in case. You know, I might give a couple away.
Yeah.
Northern tree.
He thinks he's Steve Austin. He's gonna just.
He wants to be the
I just
next
dump them
act.
on my head when the crowd goes crazy.
Smash them together.
Yeah, 2 at a time. I hate my boss too. I don't even have a job. God damn. You know, folks, as a comedian in today's absolutely ridiculous time, I don't have to write anything anymore. I just have to wait for someone to say or do something incredibly stupid and just react. That's all I gotta do. Case in point, right? There was an ad on Facebook advertising fecal transplants as a cure for autism. No. You want to go through with that? I think you should get a psychiatric evaluation because autism is the least of your fucking worries. Jesus Christ. And I wonder like how that goes. Imagine you go through with it. And now, folks, for the first time ever, not only will you be full of your own bullshit, but you'll be full of someone else's too. I wonder, like, does that mean you start assuming their memories? Like, you remember cheating on a wife you never had? Because now, folks, you're lying for 2 for the rest of your days. Fucking fecal transplant. If you think that's a good idea, you should get a brain transplant to help you make better decisions. Some people are actually contemplating that.
I'm thinking.
Yeah, me too, man. Was talking about psychiatric in the last bit. One of the things I'm noticing on the dating sites these days is that a lot of women are looking for men who have been to therapy. And like, I know that's in vogue nowadays, but just because you went to therapy doesn't mean you're doing any better. You could have ignored every word the therapist said. Every word. And like, I don't know, man. Fuck. Therapist. And like, does anybody ever consider that you could actually be like happy in today's time and not need therapy? Is that even possible? Oh, no. You just haven't probed your psyche deep enough. If you go to therapy, you'll find something that makes you miserable. Even if that something is going to therapy. I was talking about dating sites in the last bit, and that's a good thing for me. I'm very introverted. I perform and stuff, but you know, I mostly talk one-on-one. I'm really bad at talking in crowds, meet new people, talking to strangers, and it's too bad, right? Because like, I only talk to like 7 people, and I already know those 7 people won't sleep with me. Which is probably for the best because I'm related to like 4 of them. Yeah, related. But I'll tell you, man, if only I could talk to strangers, I could finally lose my virginity. I'm just kidding, folks. I'm just kidding. I'm not a virgin. However, the length of time between my amorous encounters is so vast that I feel like I'm starting over every time. It is not riding a bicycle for me, ladies and gentlemen. No. It's different sizes and way different speeds every time. I have fallen out of bed more than I've fallen anywhere else in my life. People believe me. I'm injured from sex. But best sex ever. But I tell you though, the one great thing about being a virgin, or near virgin as it were, is that you don't have to worry about STDs, man. But I tell you though, there's a couple of people I wouldn't mind giving STDs to. Yeah, you would too, man. A couple former never was comedy club managers, yeah. Won't work me, a crooked bigot. Here's some herpes. Yes. We'd probably have to both put paper bags over our head for that hateful oven to be successful. I would anyway. But I don't know, folks. Can I do it? Can I be that much of a hero? Can I have disgusting sex to save comedy in Halifax? No. No, I can't. That's why I'm doing shows at home now. Yeah. Where would we go next? I know I can't be that much of a hero, and but somebody who can be an incredible hero. I looked this up. I couldn't believe it. It was blowing my mind, man. I saw this woman who was in a wheelchair, and she'd become a nurse. Then I tried to look it up, and there were like a few of them. I didn't know who the fuck I was looking for. And I was like, Jesus Christ! Like, all I do is write and talk. Like, these ladies, like, we don't all have to be Terry Fox, do we? You're making me look terrible. Terrible. And I'm so scared that if we don't put, like, nuance into these things, right? Like, I could lose my home care, you know? Like, Josh, what do you mean you can't change your own bed sheets? That lady's in a wheelchair and she can sedate highly educated seniors. What would a tagline be for that one, you know? I can't walk, but I can change your bedpan. See, there's a cynic and skeptic in me pretty deep. As mean as I can't help it. In the back of my mind, I'm going, how in the hell could she wheel a wheelchair and carry someone's bedpan? How are you going to do that, right? This superhero nurse, she got an answer for me. She's like, yeah, well, Josh, I used to work at McDonald's and balance people's orders on my head. And I got to tell you, this current job I have now is way less disgusting than the food I used to have to serve the public. Did I say McDonald's is worse than shit? Yes, I did. All the McDonald's fans out there, Ronald McDonald's going to come get me in my nightmares. Thanks, that's just a throwaway line. While on the subject of disability, I've been in a couple disability groups over the years doing work for them. Some good experiences, some bad. But perhaps one of the most annoying experiences to me was that I had to attend anti-oppression training. Yeah, it's one of the new age fangled things, right? And now here's the thing, right? Like, I'm a comedian, right? Like, I'm not perfect. Somebody could potentially be offended at every word I say, right? You come to my show as a collective, you don't laugh at all. I've offended all of you, right? I've ripped you off. Because not only have I stolen your money, I ruined your evening, too. Joke's on you. But what really upset me about this anti-oppression training business was that at the time, I was making $12 grand a year. So I'm like, who in the fuck do I have the capacity to possibly oppress? Like, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? Go to a homeless man and be like, yeah, I get an apartment I can barely afford, might lose it any time, you don't, yeah. No, man, I'm never gonna do that. So I voiced my concern to one of the ladies in charge. You know, I'm sure she was making 50, 60 grand a year, whatever. And she was like, you know, Josh, there are homeless Nazis. Okay. But do you think maybe if they weren't homeless, they would have adopted such a hateful worldview? Fuck me. Like, and do you really think that's gonna, like, you gonna, some crackhead with a swastikas tattoo, are you gonna, like, take him to anti-oppression training, is gonna change his mind? No. Fucking, you know what? Fuck it. Let's go all the way up the chain. Imagine Hitler in anti-oppression training. Oh, yeah, I see systemic racism now so much. The point of oppression has changed my life. I love everybody now, especially Jews. Kumbaya, kumbaya. Sorry, folks, I'm not a voices guy. My Hitler was a lot friendlier than the real one, I think. But Christ. While on the subject of fascist regimes, you all know the Trump administration is rounding up immigrants, right? And last check I looked, 56,000 people. 56,000. Now, they claim they're trying to root out gang members, right? Root out gang members. See, one of the key markers for gang affiliation, according to these ICE police, is the fact of having tattoos. I don't know if you can all see this. I if I can roll it up in time, you can see part of it. See that I got a half headless crow tattoo there? See that I got a crow tattoo, right? So what dangerous gang does that make me a part of? The World Wildlife Fund? You know, and one guy got swooped up, man. He had tattoos across his fingers, right? The letters spelling out mom and dad. What dangerous gang is he part of? A loving family? Fuck me, man. If you got like a mom, a dad, a brother and sister, a kid, a dog, a cat, a partridge in a pear tree, you're definitely going to outside the door, man. But pretty soon the only people that's going to be left in the States is people with no loved ones at all. And you know who that's going to be? That's going to be the entire Trump administration. Because even their own families will denounce them for being so hateful. You can't even laugh at that because it's true. I can take a drink on that. Well, on the subject of the Trump administration, this came out just after my last show, but it's too important to leave out. Howard Lutnick, Trump's Commerce Secretary, he was saying that after people were being gouged out of their welfare and medicine, he was saying that only fraudsters would complain about delays in their welfare. In other words, only people who didn't really need their welfare would be complaining about delays in their welfare. Yeah, right? You know why that is? That's because people who really need their welfare and didn't get it are too weak from hunger to be able to raise their voices. Please, sir, please, may I have some food? Forgive me, I cannot speak up for I'm too weak. I'm sorry, folks, I'm not a voices guy. That guy sounds like a more enfeebled, better educated version of me.
Oliver Twist, I thought.
I like your voices.
Yeah, and you know what? It would be me if I was in the States. Imagine that. Give me some food, you cracker. How? For anybody who hear that in the recording, because I was feigning weakness from hunger, I said, "Give me some food, you cracker ass. How?" Because that's exactly what I'd be saying to them motherfuckers if I was hungry, you know. Gotta eat. Still on the subject of Lutnick, he went on to say that his 94-year-old mother-in-law is on food stamps and she is doing just fine. Yeah, I know guys often do like their mother-in-laws, right? But you're in the Trump administration, you're probably worth millions of dollars, and you mean to tell me you can't do better than to leave your 94-year-old mother-in-law on fucking food stamps?
He's a billionaire, actually.
Lutnick though, not Trump.
Yeah.
Oh, Lutnick, oh fuck him, he's even worse. He's even worse than I thought. I'm not familiar with the guy, but Carly is apparently. They exchange their pen pals. He's going to write her from white collar jail sometime. We finally get a better administration of power. Where? Oh yeah. So we're like, that's a terrible human being. Worst fucking son-in-law ever, eh? And I could see Trump being like he probably give him a promotion for that, right? Oh, your family. Now. Trump Vader, baby, Trump Vader. I'm going to take a little more silly because this all Trump shit get me depressed. And I don't know, I think I might be on the minority in this position, but I think maybe it's just me. Am I the only person who thought that people were hotter when they're all wearing their masks? Yeah, and like, I ain't saying people look bad, right? But it's just that when they have their mask on, your imagination can decide what they look like, right? Well, every single solitary time someone took their mask off, my imagination was severely disappointed. Yeah, I don't know what to say. I guess only Steve Buscemi can really look like Steve Buscemi, right? I don't know what it. I guess maybe only like 1860s train robbers. You know, I don't know what it is, folks. I'm not into faces. I don't like face. And folks, do you know how hard it is to navigate the dating world if you're not interested in faces? Can you imagine? Yeah, like, okay, honey, look, you don't have to really rob those people on the train, but But I want to see genuine fear in their eyes as you pretend to take their valuables. And whatever you do, don't let me see your face. I don't care how beautiful you are, I will be disappointed. And you know what? The cops never buy that shit either, right? Like, officer, I swears, we weren't really trying to rob them people on the train. We were just playing sex. They don't believe it. They don't believe it. And then I'm like, well, okay, officer, all right. Well, can everyone in jail wear a mask at least? I want to be able to enjoy my showers in there. I got one more funny bit to tell you about before I go to the serious poems. I'm going to take another drink to get me through here.
Yeah.
Represent bad life decisions. Drink it. But this is so. I've talked about helicopter parenting before, but until very recently, I didn't know that it has also infiltrated the hood. And what I mean by hood, I want to talk my hood specifically. So I grew up down in Seaview Co-op, little co-op below Uniac Square, right? And like things are different there. Like we just go through life differently. Like me and my little buddy Daniel, like he was smoking when we were 11, having sex when we were 12. Not with me, with other kids. And like me as a disabled kid, totally different experience, right? Like I still haven't smoked a full cigarette. And I have sex about every 12 years, you know? So totally different experience. But man, this is where the helicopter parenting comes in. This one little kid I heard about, man, 7 years old, right? Hard as fuck. The police come to arrest his father, and he's fighting them off. And he's winning too. Don't take my daddy away! 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 I think he actually bit a cop's nipple in the skirmish, you know? Now, as crazy as that is not unusual for my experience growing up. What is terribly unusual, though, what didn't happen in my day, is this 7-year-old kid who was tough enough to fight off the police cannot wipe his own ass. Every time he poops, he's yelling down, "Mom, come wipe my bum. Mommy, can you bring the cream and some Kleenex? Oof. I think I hurt my hole biting that policeman." Yeah, you know, and again, different for me as a disabled kid growing up, right? The guy wasn't fighting off the police or nothing like that. But however, I did learn how to fake seizures by the time I was 4. Yeah, man. Them 80s cops didn't know how to handle seizures, so they couldn't take my dad away. And lucky for my dad, lucky for him, them 80s cops also didn't know the difference between real seizures and fake ones, so my dad could never get arrested. I will tell you this, though. I was like a late bloomer growing up, right? Wasn't really sure what I could and couldn't do independently, especially the first few years. But proudly, I can tell you that by the time I was 7 years old, I was wiping my own ass. Don't take my daddy away. Don't take my daddy. Don't take my daddy away. I never thought I didn't stand up on a seizure, but I just did. That's been the stand-up portion of this. Let me grab a little drink of water here. Got some poems for you. Thank you. You're a good crowd. I couldn't decide whether to finish with that or I still got poems, right? I was just watching you, so we're still recording now, right?
No,
Okay.
Whoa.
Precisely.
Whatever you said.
Yeah, this is a Charlie Brown show.
Wait.
I'm sure the live stream crowd is really enjoying this segue of talking complete gibberish. So, oh geez, I'm on the wrong, because I put my stand-up, there we go, flipping back. Okay, so I kind of rehearsed my interest in these poems, but I did rehearse the poems and stuff. But so this first poem is kind of like about how, like, when we age through life, how we kind of turn up is sort of based on the decisions we make. And I will say as a caveat, I mean that like under normal circumstances. I'm not saying that, you know, people getting bombed in Gaza or getting rounded up by Trump are there because they made bad decisions. We're not responsible for the wicked doing their evil, but sort of in normal circumstances without, you know, crazy outliers going on, I think as adults we have perhaps a lot more choice than we think. So in my opinion, your choices that you make, either you turn out like, as the title of the poem, like a rusty nail, or a sweet fine wine. With some notable exceptions, particularly the children who have lived through hell from the start. Most of us begin something like the fool from the tarot deck, relatively cheerful and terribly naive, eager for the new experiences life brings, and impatient for the answers that will satiate their curiosity. Very few are content to remain completely ignorant about anything that has piqued their interest. I fell into the trap of expecting honesty because I was sincere. I think people pretend to know more than they do because to admit ignorance might make them look stupid. But if you proudly proclaim the wrong answer with supreme confidence, I will leave you to be much dumber than if you simply said you weren't sure. As we gain experience, most of us do not retain our position as the fool. Knowledge and disappointment do a great deal to shatter natural naivety. Unfortunately, those disappointments often sour one's disposition as they begin to expect the worst after the best hopes have been dashed repeatedly. I remember one of my bus attendants telling us in elementary that your school years are your best years. I suspect that guy's dream was not to become an attendant on an elementary school bus. I'll acquiesce that my first years of awareness and memory from age 3 to 13 were some of my very sweetest. But those are definitely idealized through the rose-colored glasses of a child's perception. Things turned dark for me in 1997 as I began to understand what it meant to be disabled in an able-bodied world. This realization gutted me well before my school years were over. With respect to those who have lost loved ones young or suffered debilitating health in adulthood, if your school years, the ones where you had the least amount of choice and your will is almost completely subjugated to others, are your very best, then I don't think you're living the way you could. It wasn't until adulthood that I was able to climb out of my misery a little bit. Adulthood is when you are formed predominantly by your own choices. That's not to say that some of us don't have better families or opportunities or beauty or money than others. There aren't a lot of people who become crackheads because things were easy. But then again, I'm not so sure most folks can become anything substantial if things are too easy. You can inherit looks or wealth without any effort, but I'm not sure you can become very cultivated if you've just been able to coast. The average person in the Western world is somewhat crushed by their job because it is not what they prefer to do with their time. But most of us have at least some leisure with which to pursue a thrilling hobby. And if we weren't such voracious consumers, we might not have to work those uninspiring gigs quite as much. The greatest blessing of my poor health is that I am not able to work them at all. I'm far from perfect, in spite of my many failings and extreme reactions to unfair treatment. I am who and what I want to be. If you put in the effort, even though sometimes it can almost break you, you can become who you're supposed to be. I would caution against going 900 miles an hour, because then you are liable to burn out. And before long, you'll be watching reality TV and smoking too much or doing other things just as harmful. So, I would recommend a nice, long, steady pace. My obsessive personality and impatience make the path of the tortoise hard to follow. But my goals are long-term and usually intricate and detailed. I take so long to do regular tasks and need a great deal more rest than the average able-bodied atom. So I'm forced to take the tortoise approach, whether I like it or not, especially when babies interrupt me when I'm talking. I can't guarantee that your Herculean efforts will bring you any material success or special renown. What I can promise, if the police don't arrest you, is that you will like yourself more. You wouldn't believe how many people I've spoken to who wish they'd done something with their life. They have rusted out because they were idle and not in a healthy motion. They're usually more bitter from self-loathing than from the bad blows they've been dealt. I could count myself among the rusty nails when I was 20 years old at the bar every day, up to nothing particularly interesting. But in spite of my challenged health, I was able to pull myself out of the pattern and become much less bitter in my early 40s than I was as a young man. Nothing from my childhood gives me much trouble. And more recently, I've stopped caring about professional success. So, the breaks that I didn't get in my 20s and 30s won't make me miserable when I'm old. I wouldn't have enjoyed being a club comedian touring around because I don't think I would have been able to be myself. And the force and scope of my creativity would have been seriously limited. The only things that trouble me now are my life's lack of full romantic love, but that could change in an instant, and the health that limits my activities and potentially my time on Earth, and the work I need to get done under these circumstances. But all I can really do is press on and keep going. In ancient Egypt, it was said that when you die, your heart must be lighter than a feather to gain entry into heaven. But I think God and the angels are more forgiving than that. The human heart is so dynamic. It suffers pain that would have to give it some weight. But I think the Egyptians were on the right track. Don't rust out and become bitter about all the things that never were. Do your damnedest to make the things you want most come to pass. If addictions or other things are ruining your life, have the courage to get the help you need to overcome them. I would caution against going too far down the path of diagnosis. If you have 17 mental abnormalities, how can you possibly ever feel well? Cultivate your best qualities that you may sublimate your worst. Become that sweet fine wine, nectar, that even the gods would stoop down to drink. You'll be able to make more interesting friends. Love yourself more completely. Words can't quite express the great comfort it is to be able to look in the mirror and actually smile. One down, 3 to go of these terribly long diatribes. 3 more, folks, 3 more. And I wasn't even going to write a 4th, but I did. OCD, in effect.
You got a lot to say.
Yeah. You'll have to sit through another 6 minutes that, you wouldn't have had to otherwise. But,
I'm getting my $10 worth.
Oh yeah, well that's what I figured, right? Yeah. If I didn't do it, you're only getting $7.50 worth, right? So I couldn't short you. So this next one, I'll speak to this more in the poem, but anybody that's spent more than 15 minutes with me knows my health woes, and even you witnessed a bit of it trying to get ready for the show there. So I have had a lot of trouble with doctors because, and I'm talking about doctors of physical medicine, right? So I don't think overall they're like doing the best job they can. However, I don't have enough medical knowledge to really like know for sure, So I can't really like say for sure, but I kind of know enough about human nature that a lot of people don't like do their jobs real well. And I think,
right.
You think so? I agree. Yeah. Glad my audience agrees with me. That always helps. Any secret magas in the crowd? Trouble. Sorry. Yeah, that's okay. You'll probably get some big tax breaks at least. So, to be honest. So, and I even took a perspective from an exceptional doctor who kind of argues against what I say. So I've tried to include that all in here and tried to be fair about it. But my overall opinion is the title of the poem. Doctors don't really do it. I wonder what motivates a person to become a doctor. It is a long, rigorous, and expensive journey. Is it an altruistic impulse, the Hippocratic pursuit to make the sick well, or is it the selfish desire for a lucrative career? I suspect humans, being as they are, doctoral desire might land anywhere on the spectrum between helping and profit. And most people, being neither entirely good nor entirely bad, probably have both in mind as they travel the road to donning the stethoscope. A species that builds bombs will probably never put enough emphasis on health and medicine. This is a sickness that infects the entire world. How can anyone sleep with their billions, Lutnick, while dying children try to muster the strength to swat away the flies that gnaw on their distended flesh? But really, how can any of us sleep while that rancid horror goes on? And yet we do. My medication gives me enough rest to be free of the psychiatric ward. But it does not give me the power to soften the destructive impulses of killers. I can only hope that one day my words might play some small part in inspiring a more gentle approach before it's too late. We cannot blame the healers, medicine men, and physicians for all the world's illness. Sickness is caused by a great deal more than doctors in dereliction of duty. Might have said dereliction wrong, but that's okay. Give them a point. But still, I think that even in our own opulent first world privilege, we are not always treatment for our ailments. Anyone who has spent more than 10 minutes in my company knows of my 19-year poor pissing purgatory, where I do almost nothing for an extended period outside of home, and how my sweet contemplative life is not so reposed because even most of that is tethered to the toilet. When the symptoms are the most terrible, I feel my time to live is incredibly limited. I do not accept I have been given the best care medicine can provide, because I cannot believe that everyone who has had to suffer the intellectual and financial perditions of medical training could be so unspeakably stupid. But I will concede that I am not among the initiated who has passed through the perditions to have a qualified opinion. Like any layman, I must, in large respect, leave science to the scientists. But I do know enough about human behavior to insist that many people perform their jobs dispassionately. It is only a select few who approach their work with the enthusiasm and rigor necessary to do the best possible job. Who could blame them? Very few people set out to flip burgers or work Walmart. Society as we have it necessitates those uninspiring lines of work. Everyone, with or without broken dreams, needs to eat. And there are people among those workers who swallow their malaise and do the best they possibly can. There are even a few among the conscientious who have no malaise to swallow and thoroughly enjoy their work. Isn't the spectrum of human preference a marvelous thing? I was a kid who had 10 surgeries. I'm sure most of them were helpful, but I'm not certain I needed them all. I had an arrogant orthopedic surgeon who thoroughly denounced physiotherapy. He claimed it was ineffective. But I suspect his opinion was colored by the reality that if physiotherapy worked, kids wouldn't need as many surgeries. That kind of Machiavellian behavior shows up in dentists who find cavities you do not have. And who's to say that just like a crooked mechanic, they might not cause other problems while having access to your mouth? Completely free dental care would seriously lessen the incidences of unnecessary surgery. There are doctors who might hear this piece ablaze with righteous indignation. How dare this crackpot poet criticize my work ethic and call into question the legitimacy of my profession? I'm still thousands of dollars in debt. I've missed most of my children's major moments performing life-saving surgery, and I have to break the news to their loved ones if the surgery is unsuccessful. And many of those times, I haven't slept in 72 hours. I have sacrificed my life to save others. So who are you to question my integrity? You might struggle to pee, but I've seen people's kidneys shot to pieces. And what about my colleagues who have given their lives to treat patients in war zones? Or contracted a lethal infectious disease, trying to treat the patients who had those lethal infectious diseases. To that type of doctor and their like-minded colleagues, I sincerely apologize. This critique is not meant for you. I thank you for your tireless service. My indictment is meant for the boneheads and crooks who do not take their work seriously, who do not value the lives they hold in their hands, whose stupidity, incompetence, and corruption their lives or the quality of them, whose wickedness might stoop so low as to forbid treatment from a rival source, whose success might render them obsolete, and the failing system that leaves a man with cerebral palsy and his 98-year-old grandmother without a doctor for 4 years. It makes them fight to get their medication. How do we fix that system? How do we root out the charlatans whose Hippocratic oath is the deepest hypocrisy? At the very least, we must bar them from practicing medicine. And we must encourage and incentivize the best and brightest and employ the methodology and morality necessary for them to flourish. Because good health should be a human right. People deserve the best treatment they can be given.
Amen to that.
That is the preacher man up here testifying, and I'm sweating bullets. I hope that's not as visible as it feels.
Oh no, I can't really see it.
Still looking fresh.
And I'm like my weight and sweat on top of that.
People are commenting in the chat.
Of how sweaty I am.
No. Seth Timothy says hi.
Oh, Seth Huntley. Yeah. Oh, hi, Seth. Yeah. Seth is he's geez, one of the nicest fellows you could meet in town. His mother is a master astrologer.
I was gonna say, yes, Patricia.
Yeah, son. Yeah. Yeah, and oh, what a great guy he is. Yeah. Geez, that got me nice and distracted for how miserable I am in this second last poem.
Hang in there.
And I am, and the poem actually is about hanging in there. And again, anyone who knows, and people see my movie, you know this romantic love struggle and great lack thereof has been probably the greatest challenge of my life, you know. And but I'm fighting, you know, and I think for me it goes deeper. And I know maybe like some people don't really believe in spirituality or whatever, and if you don't, that's fine. Hopefully you can just humor me for the next 2 poems for that matter. But so I believe like I was a magician in my last life who committed suicide, and like if it was me, it was probably because of some immense that he couldn't handle heartbreak that pushed him over the edge. So this is a poem called The Flames of Love. Those flames have been burning me since 1997, and I strongly suspect they may have snuffed me out the last time around, long before I would have died of natural causes. I try to count the blessings of my friendship and familial bonds. They may well be more than I deserve. That gaping romantic absence has been the most painful aspect of my life for 28 long years. Poor sweet Icarus was so enamored with the sun, he melted his mechanical wings and plunged to his death because he flew too close to it. I have been a similar moth to the flame, but have somehow managed to avoid drowning like Icarus for all this time. I'm not sure I can continue to survive the heat of the fire and avoid the subsequent plunge underwater for the rest of my natural life. Icarus lost his mechanical wings. My burns have scorched my very soul and challenged my will to live far too deeply to ever feel clear of that specter. But yet, I go on because I must. Doing these shows is a great catharsis, and it is my honor and privilege to present them to you. I can't promise a long run, but I can promise tonight. And of course, as mentioned that Dr. Polemic, the specter of my health looms large enough to worry me of early death. But again, we can blame the doctors if that happens, because I have done everything I could possibly do. When you step into my home, if you can see past the mess and clutter and technology, you get a sense of a time long since past. And that is no accident. I believe it is more than just old-time taste. I think I lived before as a mentalist who was able to catch bullets in his mouth. I read that he had been drinking too much in his final days. He was in such pain, he decided to swallow a bullet right before a performance. I would like to think that in this life, I would be sage enough to cancel the show if I really couldn't manage. Of course, these aren't empirical facts, but if it was me, I suspect Theodore Anneman suffered terrible heartbreak and perhaps even acute psychosis when he ate his bullet. His parents also divorced when he was 2, and he quit college as definitively as I did. His suicide came at 35. My psychosis hit at the same age. If it was that kind of sickness, getting help would have been a lot harder in 1942 than it was in 2018. I suspect we are destined to encounter some of the same experiences in future lives, especially if we did not properly work through them. And so here I am. Spiritually, it's probably a large part of the cerebral palsy. It's not just a punishment, though sometimes it feels like that's all it could be. When I'm able to think positively, I think it's a great opportunity to gestalt the world into giving people like me a much better life. Nevertheless, I've been forced into a situation where I must face heartbreak head on every day. It's not just the almost absolute rejection, though that is a very large part of it. It's also the times when I was manipulated by people who couldn't love me but loved my attention, and the malicious glee they took in breaking my heart. It's also the fact that even when it looked like I had it, I've never really had it. I've either had to compromise on the person or the circumstance to such a large degree that I couldn't be fully happy. The times I had to compromise on the person, I should have stayed alone. But the times I've had to compromise on the circumstance, I'm very grateful to have had those experiences because they were a great deal better than being alone. And in many ways, were very close to exactly what I needed. A lot of people on the dating sites are looking for a life partner. That would be incredible if the connection were strong enough. But I don't think it's terribly sage to seek a life partner just for the sake of it. That seems too far to reach for someone like me. If it should happen, I would welcome it fully. It would be the happiest surprise of my life. But what I really need is to have it all the way where I'm not compromising on the person or the circumstance, even if it's only for a little while. I'm not sure I can live out my natural life without it. But here's the thing. I promise to fight with everything I've got. I'm living for me and for Theo and for everyone who has ever loved me. If I lose, I might come back more disabled without my ability to communicate. And that is not a life I could live. I can't promise 40 years, but I can promise tonight. At the very least, I'll finish the show this time and say my proper goodbyes. Here's hoping the flames don't consume me. Don't take my daddy away. Should have run the air conditioner during the show. It's part of the noise to save me from the flames. So yeah, we got one more here. I better take another drink of water here to soften up as my preacher voice is getting a little scratchy. And this here again, this involves spirituality, but like so it's kind of a prayer. So like, if you don't believe in God or like the concept of God, that's fine. It still works. And what I always say to people with this is that I just think that we really need to follow our conscience. Like that's what it's all, whether God factors in or not. So it's not a have to be thing. And I bring this up. I actually think that God intends like some people to be atheists, and that's positive. Like just to have the discussion about it. And so what this is about is we're living today in a very violent world, especially by those in power, and they're making the wrong choices. And we have such incredible destructive capacity with nuclear bombs and all this stuff, and a seemingly increasing will to carry it out. So, and it's easy to say this now from our position somewhere to someone in Gaza or someone like that, but if this goes far enough, it could kill us all, everybody, right? So I hope for some like divine inspiration or just something to change us off course of this path that we're on. So this final piece is a prayer called Dear Lord, please soften our violent hearts. I said last year in No Peace in the Middle East that throughout the course of human history, our waters have always run scarlet with blood. From the Tigris and the Euphrates to every tiny mud puddle in the big wide ocean, the disease of violence is endemic enough to validate my dismal claim. Some contend it is virulent enough to be human nature. I think that's a step too far, because there are people who have been peaceful their entire lives. Nevertheless, the impulse to violence has been acted upon so frequently, I can see why it is taken for natural. It is human nature to eat and shit and sleep, and is a large part of the misery of the human condition that so many of us must struggle with all three. Violence is in the nature of some animals. I would not expect a lion to turn vegetarian. Hell, I won't even limit myself to plants in this life, because meat is the only food from which I can feel any noticeable sustenance. But truly I say to you, we are more than mere animals, even though the actions of many gravely contradict my opinion. I must declare, I'm not exactly a pacifist. I hope I would be courageous enough to fight for my life and the lives of those I love with everything I have, should the need arise. I cannot say for certain that I would not seek vengeance in the name of a murdered friend. I could only beg God to help calm my impulse. I've never acted in physical violence, but my words and acts have been filled with venom in response to the injustices I've suffered. I will always stand up for myself. But these days, I am much more likely to write someone off than to try to get them fired. I am less angry as a middle-aged man than I was as a youth. But if you have done me wrong and are capable of better, I will let you know. I am no Gandhi. In his biopic, his belief in nonviolence was so fervent, he thought that the best medicine for Hitler was the eventual realization of all the wrong he'd done. I think the best medicine for Hitler and his philosophy is death, so the rest of the world can have a chance to be free. I would not have been allowed to live under Nazi law. So now I shall exercise the freedom that I possess this moment in this world to offer up a prayer that might inspire humankind to take a different course. I believe in a God something like you read about in the religions. However, my God is not so specific. It is beyond gender and the petty interfaith squabbles fought by dogmatic men. It is all the omnis, present, potent, niscient, and qualities we cannot comprehend. God is everything good to our highest possible ideal, and still higher than that. It is unconditional and infinite love beyond human comprehension. I turn to you, my God, and plead for you to help soften our hearts. I've extended that famous saying, an eye for an eye leaves the whole world blind, to a bomb for a bomb, eventually leaves no one around to discuss it. That possibility is incredibly real with our destructive capacity and a seemingly increasing will to carry it out. I know that free will cannot be compromised, because then we are not free, and you are not God. But still, I hope you can hear my prayer. Could you not appear in the dreams of those who hold power, and not in the fire and brimstone way of the books? If the wicked are already condemned, then what cause do they have to stop their evil? Show them who you really are. Show them that you love them even though they kill people. Show them that you love even the Hitler I would shoot in the face. Show them that their violence will eventually kill their own children. And show them that their peace and compassion can save them. Give the powerful some split-screen prophetic dreams where the nature of their actions shape the nature of the future. Free will might be the most important aspect of the experience, but it cannot be that billions of people are to be martyred because the wicked are free to do their evil. Help us remember that evil is not an innate state of being, but a perpetually moving set of choices that can be reversed at any time. The very worst among us, even the Hitlers, can become good if they so choose. Dear God, please free your children from the false idols who encourage murder in your name. Show us that morality isn't necessarily puritanical, that it is a sin to let any one of your children starve, but any consensual sexual proclivity is an extension of your love. Pleasures of the flesh sweeten the human condition. Ethics must only be governed by kindness. The divine plan is so nuanced that some people are meant to be atheists. If we all believed in you, there would be no mystery, and we would lose one of the most fascinating discussions that can be had on earth. Diversity is essential for the human experience. I cannot claim to know your mind. I'm just a man. But because I'm a part of you, I reckon I can know at least a small piece of it. I have a good mind despite its neurological deficiencies. And I have more time to reflect than most, and a wild stubbornness which allows me to draw my own conclusions. So please, help me crystallize the message, for you have already given me such wonderful gifts. It is time to speak to the world once more, just like you did in the days of the scriptures. Show the world that you side with the children and the poor and all the downtrodden souls who suffer. I know mortal life can never be perfect. It is only for a limited time after all. How can we learn our lessons without an ever-changing environment? I suspect some portion of suffering might be a necessary part of the human experience. But that portion is far too great for far too many of your beautiful children. The world is governed by too many of our worst impulses. Please show us some glimpses of heaven so that we may be governed by our best capabilities. Please help lessen the burden of our suffering by showing us the grand possibility of peace and joy here on earth. We made it, folks. Looks like Peter Tosh is smoking a tripod.
Do you want to sign off to your
Yeah,
viewers?
thank you everybody for watching online who didn't come in this sweaty infested mess of me and hopefully couldn't smell me from over the internet waves. And thank you to everybody, of course, for coming in person. It makes it much more palatable and fun for me to do. And just all your support and Yeah.
Kayla says, "Bravo, Josh. Love you, buddy."
Love you too. Kiss, kiss, and I'll be dressing up as Jimmy Frazier before you know it.
Ooh.
All